Good evening. On behalf of the San Mateo Police Department, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight on Real Talk San Mateo. I am Jeremy Surratt. I'm the Public Information Officer for the San Mateo Police Department, and I will be your host this evening. Real Talk San Mateo is a virtual town hall meeting that we hold about 4 times a year, and this is my second year of hosting it. And this is the first one of 2025, so a little belated Happy New Year to everyone. Over the last 2 years, we've covered numerous topics to inform the community about traffic, scams, domestic violence, mental health, school safety. And on this Real Talk San Mateo, tonight we're going to be talking about the Neighborhood Watch program. If you're new to Real Talk or you haven't seen it before, all of our virtual town hall meetings are recorded and we later upload them to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen any of them, I highly suggest you go back to our YouTube channel and pick out some topics that interest you and get a lot of good information from there. So like I said, tonight's topic is going to be the Neighborhood Watch program. The Neighborhood Watch is one of our programs that we do to foster good partnerships with our community members to support the bridge in between the police department and our community to help prevent crime in our city. Our Neighborhood Watch program, we started it back in the 1990s, and it's one of the largest, if not the largest in the county, and one of the best ones ran in the country. Currently, we have over 200 block captains. Our speakers tonight, we always start off with our Chief Ed Barberini. And then after the chief speaks to us for a little bit, we're going to go into one of our panelists is Janine Luna. She's our community relations officer, and she's the coordinator of our Neighborhood Watch program. And we also have Victor Luskap, who is on the board of Neighborhood Watch and served as a block captain for many, many years. This is currently being Facebook to Facebook Live. So at any time during the Real Talk, if you have a question on Zoom, you can use the little I have a question icon, or you can type it into Facebook, and we'll be monitoring that throughout the evening. Also, you can send an email to pdpio@cityofsanmateo.org, and we'll be monitoring that as well. So tonight, to start off our discussion, our Chief of Police, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Ed Barberini.
Thanks, Jeremy, and good evening. Whether you're watching us live or you're watching a recorded version, we're happy to have you here at another episode of Real Talk. As you know, as Jeremy mentioned, we try to do these about 4 times a year to open up discussion with the community about topics that rise to the top and are important. Tonight, we're going to talk about a very important one. However, I'd like to encourage anyone out there who's, again, watching tonight or at a later date, if there's a topic or an issue that we haven't covered in a while, or it's new, or there's something that's in the community that you think would merit a discussion in this type of environment, we'd be happy to hear from you. So please, we're always looking for what's important to those we serve. So don't hesitate to make those suggestions. As a police department, we recognize that we can't do our jobs on our own. We can't police our city independently. We would certainly fail. It needs to be a collaborative effort between us and the folks that reside, work, and visit our city. That partnership encourages and promotes the safe environment, a quality of life that we seek and expect in our communities and throughout the city. So one of the avenues that we use to promote that or to further that effort is Neighborhood Watch. And as Jeremy mentioned, we are very, very lucky to have an extremely robust Neighborhood Watch program, one that's a model for other cities. And it certainly makes our city a much safer and I would argue a happier place. Tonight, you're going to have 2 experts talk to you about Neighborhood Watch. They really lead the charge in coordinating all of Neighborhood Watch's efforts. What I like about Neighborhood Watch is it's community driven. It's driven by those folks who want to get out, want to meet their neighbors, and want to make sure that their block is safe, their neighborhood is safe, and they really have a strong sense of community. Because it's community driven, it's also very customizable. What may work for one neighborhood or block it may look a little bit different in another part of the city, and that's fine. It's all dependent on what the particular needs of that community are. So when you hear suggestions tonight and ideas about how the programs run, please know that if you're considering establishing a neighborhood watch program, that there are no hard and fast rules. There are some guidelines that we have to adhere to, but it is very flexible, and I think that's what makes it even more worthwhile. So I'm going to jump off. I'm going to get out and get out of here and listen to the program with everyone else. I want to thank Janine and Victor for being our presenters tonight, and as always, Jeremy, thank you for putting this together. And have a great night. And I look forward to listening with all of you. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Chief. So the neighborhood watch program, it works closely with our coordinator and with all the block captains and everyone involved in the neighborhoods. So just to give you an overview of the police department, how we patrol the city and how the city is broken up for us, it's split up into three different areas. And those areas are divided by Highway 101 and Highway 92. So Area 1 is everything west of Highway 101 and north of Highway 92. And in each area, we have a lieutenant that's assigned to that. So in Area 1, it's Lieutenant Textera. Lieutenant Pack is in charge of Area 2, which is everything west of the 101 and south of the 92. And then Lieutenant Riccardi is in charge of Area 3, which is everything east of Highway 101, and then also includes the downtown and Central Park. So when you think about neighborhood watch and how it kind of builds from the community, the blocks of our community, and then up to the police department and patrol and everything like that, it's a good basis to kind of know what area you're in so that you can funnel your questions or any concerns to the appropriate person. So if you're in a block, then you would take it up to your block captain, and then the coordinator, and then if it's a larger issue, then we get our area lieutenants involved to get extra patrol and stuff like that. So it is a building block and it's a very cohesive program that gets everyone in the police department involved. So with that little like foundational knowledge, I'm going to turn it over to Janine. Janine Luna, she's our neighborhood watch coordinator. She's been running the program for about 8 years, and she kind of runs it and works with the program as board. So, Janine.
Thanks, Jeremy, and thanks everyone for showing up tonight. I'm sure I have a lot of my block captains in the audience, and one of the goals of tonight really is to encourage everyone in the community to take part in policing their neighborhoods. And I don't necessarily mean policing in the forms of, wearing a gun and a badge and making arrests, but really keeping an eye out on what's going on and knowing what's going on in your area. So I do have a presentation I'm going to run through for you to hit some talking points with you and give you an idea of how the program runs. Like the chief mentioned earlier, it is very, there's no set formula because it is very specific to the neighborhoods that you guys reside in. What might work for one neighborhood might not work for another. And then one block captain might be super, super stringent on what they're doing to run their program. And then another person is more casual about it. But knowing who your neighbors are and knowing what works for your area is very important in making sure that these blocks stay active, because the goal of this is to not turn anyone off. We want to make sure you guys are engaging your neighbors in a way that works for all of you, that no one's being overburdened, no one is just ignoring issues, no one is being a nosy neighbor, no one is acting like, a Gestapo out there. So I'm going to hopefully give you some tidbits that you can take with you. And hopefully for those of you who aren't already block captains, you can take this information back to your neighborhoods, query your fellow neighbors, and see if you want to go ahead and start to create an active neighborhood watch block. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. So let me go ahead and get this set up. Normally I'm sitting side by side and with Jeremy on the background, but in order to do this tonight, we had to be in separate rooms so that we don't have an echo. So bear with me a second here. All right, so hopefully you can see that. If you, Victor, Jeremy, give me a thumbs up, make sure it's working for you. Great, thank you. So who am I? I'm our community relations officer for the department, but I'm also the neighborhood watch coordinator. I've been here for about 23 and a half years, so I know the city. I've seen it change a little bit. I've seen the previous iteration of neighborhood watch to what it is now, and I've, worked the streets a little bit, taken residential burglaries, auto burglaries, stolen vehicles. So I have a history in taking the police reports that affect you guys the most. And so what we're trying to do with Neighborhood Watch is obviously help you to harden your targets. So on this screen, and again, this is being recorded, so you can go back and get this information later. My email's on there, but really for any Neighborhood Watch issues, we do want you to send any emails to neighborhoodwatch@cityofsanmateo.org, or we have a dedicated phone line to it as well at 650-522-7791. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about what is Neighborhood Watch. And really, in order to have an active Neighborhood Watch program in your area, we need volunteers, which means we need somebody to step up and be a block captain. So we're going to briefly go over kind of the roles and responsibilities of a block captain. And then I'm going to show you a couple places on our website you can go for more information. We do have a new business watch program that we're starting, which is basically Neighborhood Watch for businesses. So I'm going to touch on that for a second. And then a couple programs we have here that help necessitate both those programs. And then finally, we're going to give you some information on how you guys can stay connected to the police department. So I'm just going to ask, I do tend to talk fast because it's a lot of information to cover. So Jeremy, just give me a signal if you need me to slow down here for the audience, if I'm going too fast. This is also not my forte, so I get nervous. All right, so what is Neighborhood Watch? Essentially, it's just a crime prevention program, which basically enlists you, the residents of our city, to volunteer to be the conduit between your neighborhoods and the police department. So you would act as a liaison. Neighborhood Watch is designed really to protect your personal and property, your persons, as well as your property. So we want to be able to provide you with crime prevention tips, let you know what is considered suspicious, how to get you guys to be more active in what I said earlier by hardening your targets, meaning knowing what crime trends are out there and what you can do to protect yourself and your property. So essentially, as a liaison with Neighborhood Watch, you are what we call our eyes and ears. There's only so many police officers working a shift in this city. It's a big city. And so we really do need you all to help us by letting us know what's going on. And that doesn't just mean being busybodies and knowing, everybody's business, but what is out there that's happening that could lead to crime, that could lead to blight in your neighborhoods. Do you have gang issues, for example, in certain areas? Are you seeing a trend of, every white truck on your block got hit? Those are the kind of pieces of information we as a police department need to know so that we can help better police the city. But also encourage reporting, because we do tend to see some underreporting. And if we don't know that certain crimes are happening, then we can't really try and address situations and address those trends. And what I mean by underreporting is, for example, maybe you have a tendency to leave your car unlocked and you can tell when you return to it that maybe somebody rifled through it, but nothing was really missing. Well, it is still a crime for somebody to go into your vehicle without permission. But because you didn't think it was a big deal, you don't have a loss, so you didn't report it. That doesn't really help us if we need to figure out who might be lingering around in your neighborhood. So really it's about providing you with, crime prevention tips, educating you on the stuff you need to know, having you be more aware of your surroundings and what you can do to make yourself a little bit safer out there. And the way this works really is it's governed by the police department. We do have a board of directors. There's about 10 board of directors right now, and myself as a coordinator. And so we meet every other month and talk about what can we do to further our mission of Neighborhood Watch. And one of the goals we had was really to try and push to get more block captains. And so that's why we're doing this tonight, hoping to encourage you all to take an active role in the security of your neighborhoods. All right, so as Jeremy mentioned, we have area lieutenants, 3 different areas. Right now, I mentioned we have the 10 block captains. These are just certain areas. I would love to get one more board of directors for area 1, which is kind of the north end, so everything north of 92. So if any of you are interested in joining our board, send me email as well. But right now we're going to move into talking about what it means to be a block captain. And again, this is simply a volunteer position. And again, no set formula. So we're going to talk about some of the things we're looking for and how you can kind of cater that to meet the needs of your neighborhood. All right. So the first thing really is I need you. I need volunteers. So I need someone who might know everybody in the neighborhood, someone who's not the busybody, but someone who is very familiar with what's going on in the neighborhood and what kind of, what is normal, and someone who obviously is invested in the safety and security of the neighborhood. So it starts there. Who is that person? I'm assuming a lot of you might be interested because you're joining us here tonight. So that makes my heart happy. Hopefully you do end up being a block captain at the end of this, but I need the volunteer first. So I need the person. And then what I need that person to do is kind of what I say is query your neighborhood. See if your neighbors would be interested in having an active neighborhood watch block in their area. And I usually say if you can do that and you garner interest from at least half of the area you're interested in being a block captain for, then we would move forward. And so when I say kind of query your area, because this city is so big, and say, for example, you live on, say, South Delaware. South Delaware is a very, very, very long street. I do not have one block captain who would be responsible for that entire length of the street. So we would chop it up into what you felt was doable for you. So maybe it's just the block you live on. Maybe it's just the 5 houses in your cul-de-sac. Maybe you feel like maybe you can take on the 100 and 200 block of whatever street you live in. It's really about seeing what you can bite off and how much of that you can be responsible for. And then from there, kind of once you've queried and you have an interest, I can even come out and we can talk to your neighbors to get a lot more buy-in. But essentially what happens is once the block is up and running, things I need from a block captain would be minimally to keep some sort of roster. And this roster is really going to be information that you need to communicate with your neighbors and the residents on your block or in that area you've designated. Because if I funnel information to you, I need you to be able to provide them with that information. Now, some people may only give you an email. Some may give you a phone number. Some may not. Maybe you have to hand deliver stuff. It's really going to be about what works for you. I'm not having you ask for their social security number, all their private information. It's really about building whatever they're willing to give you in order for you to minimally contact your neighbors. And then obviously know them. I would hope that you guys get out there and you meet each other and you talk to each other and you see each other and wave when you're walking dogs. That type of lively neighborhood is what really the Neighborhood Watch program is about, lived in neighborhoods. If you come home and you're very private and you just drive in your garage and shut the door and you don't come out and live in this black hole, that's kind of not going to serve the purpose of Neighborhood Watch, because we really want our neighborhoods to be vibrant. And then, I'd love for you to attend any of our events, host neighborhood events, and that could be something as small as like a little get together in your driveway. It doesn't have to be anything huge. But really what we want to do is have you promote the ideals and mission of Neighborhood Watch. So anytime I have information that I feel the city needs to have, maybe it's about crime trends, for example, I will then funnel that to you. You then will disperse it to your residents. Now, on the flip side of that, if, for example, going back to my earlier example about maybe all the trucks in the neighborhood were getting hit or burglarized, if the police department doesn't know that, then I would hope that's something that you have garnered from talking to your neighbors, and that, hey, 123 Main Street's getting hit with a bunch of auto burglaries. And then you share that information with me so that we can figure out how to tackle it next. So it's all about information sharing from me to you and from you and your neighborhood back to me. And then obviously we want to reach some solutions. Okay. Again, so what did I say? A block captain, it's a volunteer. It's a conduit to receive and relay information. You act as the point person for your block so that people who have information that they feel needs to come to the police department gets funneled to you, and then it gets funneled to me. With that being said, it does not preclude any one resident in this city from directly contacting me or the police department. So you're not necessarily the replacement for contact. It's just if you have a bigger issue in your block, instead of hearing from maybe 10 of your neighbors, you all kind of get together, they funnel the information to you, and then you funnel it back to me. So essentially, you're the point person, the liaison. And then obviously, once I provide some feedback or the area lieutenants provide feedback, we want you to take that information back to your neighborhoods. What a block captain is not, and this is, pay attention, this is the one that can get people in trouble. You are not law enforcement. Leave the policing to the police. We never want you to put yourself in harm's way. So even if you see an act of crime happening, you might hear it a couple times through this presentation, we want you just to be a good witness. Don't get yourself in harm's way. Don't interject yourself into a situation. You're like it says, not the authority. We don't expect you to know crimes, and we don't expect you to solve crimes. And we definitely don't want you to put your safety in jeopardy. And then also, you're not the block gopher. We don't want everybody to come to you with every single little problem. That is not what we expect from you. We don't want the busybody neighbors to come to you and just dump on you loads and loads and loads of he said, she said, or getting involved in little neighbor disputes. If they're bigger and they involve needing the police department, different story. But you are not the neighborhood gopher, so they can't come to you for every little nitpicky thing. And we do not expect that from you, because it is a huge turnoff, and we know we'll lose block captains that way. So that's something we want to make sure that your residents and neighbors know. All right. The time commitment really is minimal. It's kind of how you make it. What you put into it is what you get out of it, I would say. Some people just do it when I send out information. They might just, every time I get an email or send out an email, they might just push it then. What does that take you? 2 minutes to formulate an email and forward the information I'm giving you? So that's minimal. Some are very structured, and some really do take the time to come up with newsletters or, host quarterly events. It really is what you want. The reason there's no formula is because we're not trying to deter anyone from taking on this volunteer role. We don't want to make it so hard, fast, and stringent that it's a turnoff for both you and your neighbors. And so we know that having something is better than nothing at all. And so we really do allow you to create it and mold it into what works for you. I do want to hear from you, whenever you move or change block captains. I will admit that's kind of one of the areas we fall down. People do move and they don't let me know that they moved. And so now I've lost a block captain and I don't even know that I lost a block captain, right? So, we want to hear from you during that time. We are more than willing as a police department to go do presentations for you on any topic that's crime related. We do scam presentations. We can talk about how to help you protect your house, all kinds of different things. Whenever you receive something from me, whether it's via email or a phone call or even a physical delivery, because we know not everybody is email savvy, I might need you to disperse some information that way. But one of the biggest times of the year where we really do love to have our neighborhood watch participation is during National Night Out. And that event is every August of every year. It's nationwide, and it's the first Tuesday in August. And it's known as America's Night Out Against Crime. And really what we do is, if you haven't really done much during the year from a neighborhood watch perspective, do something fun on that night. We've got block parties, we've got ice cream socials, we have barbecues, we have all kinds of different events that you can do on that evening, to encourage getting you and your neighbors together to know what's normal and talk about what's going on in your neighborhoods. And then while you're doing that, simultaneously, I'm hosting a big event, usually at the King Center, which is a public event for people who don't necessarily have a structured neighborhood watch program on their block. And we provide resources and all this fun stuff. But again, it's to push the safety information, make sure you guys are getting the information you need. And then if you have your own block event or, driveway event, if you register it, we generally will make sure that we send officers to your event and to stop and kind of chat with you for a few minutes and get an idea about what's going on with you and hopefully answer some of your questions. So it's really about letting criminals know that we're organized. And when we're organized, we basically know what we're looking out for. I think that's it for right now. Jeremy, I'll come back to finish my presentation in a bit, but I'll turn it back over to Jeremy because I think you guys have heard me talk long enough.
Never. I can always listen to you talk. Thank you, Janine, for all of that. So based off of what Janine just talked about, we want to get Victor in here to start talking. So our next speaker is going to be Victor Luscap. So he was a block captain for many, many years, and now he's on the board. So hello, Victor. Can you introduce yourself to everyone, and then kind of just go over how long you've been participating in Neighborhood Watch and kind of the things that you did and what worked really well for you as a block captain.
Thank you, Jamie. I've been a block captain for more than 10 years. And like some of the other block captains, how that happened, we had a few incidents in my neighborhood. We got together and we was having coffee and they said, Victor, you are it. So I ended up being the block captain. And we have had some very good wins in our neighborhood for the watch. I personally think block captains are the backbone of the neighborhood watch. When I uh, became the block captain here in Tanglewood, I was issued some tools by the liaison. And one of the tools that I've used very effectively is a list that is published by the San Mateo PD. I'm sorry, in that City Hall. It's called Who to Call. I make sure that every member in my neighborhood have this copy. Why? If they have the information of who to call, they won't be calling me. So I provided that list, and I've a couple of times had them call me. I asked them, "Do you have the list?" They said yes. I went over the list and was able to help them to do that. Now I don't get many calls from the neighborhood anymore. They all do call the PD if they have a problem. One of the most important things that we talked about in our neighborhood when you're making a call to the San Mateo PD, first, is it an emergency? Or is it what we'll say a non-emergency? And the most important thing when you make a call, you should be a good witness. The PD cannot do anything without you being a good witness. Most people will call and nothing happened. Well, I can tell you some good gains that we have had in our neighborhood for that. During the pandemic, we had a few young men or was rambling through mailboxes, and a couple neighbors was talking about it, and we found out that it was just in ones or two, but many people in the neighborhood were losing their mail. So one of the things we have done hard in our neighborhood is I would say about 75% of the people in my neighborhood have cameras. So we all started watching the cameras. And one evening, there were a couple of young men going through mailbox. One of the neighbors saw it. We immediately called the San Mateo PD and caught them in action. And we were able, there was about three of them, and they distributed themselves around the neighborhood, and we were able to catch two of them. One got away, but eventually he was caught. Another thing was that at the beginning of our block, uh, uh, at one point during that period, we had people that was breaking in cars. And one of the things that was happening during that period, when people would come home in a hurry, don't lock their cars. And they ended up getting breaking in. Well, what we would do at that point is I sent out an email to the neighborhood asking people to double check. And that cut down a lot of break-ins in cars in our neighborhood. Now, and what started to happen is instead of these young men or whoever they were coming into our neighborhood, they would go to the first or two houses at the entrance of the neighborhood. And what we did is we hardened those neighborhoods, and that kind of cut down the break-ins in our car. So one of the major things that have really get us to know each other, I think Janine mentioned that, is a national night out. I think she said that's in February. I'm sorry, in August. It's first Tuesday in August, and we all gather in our neighborhood. At that point, we normally get a police officer or a city council. We get some city representative, and they will come by. They normally bring a package for very important. They do bring a package for the young kids, and the kids have little trinkets. They get coloring books, and they entertain the young kids. Some of the officers will meet them. So we're a very close neighborhood, and that's because we have worked at it. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to work at it. You have to. One of the things I have done really is to pass on information that Janine sent to me. I don't send out everything because I don't want to bore people. You know, you start sending people a lot of email, they start ignoring it. But when they get something from me, they know it's important and they address
Are you saying I bore you?
it.
Everything
No,
I send is important, Victor. Everything.
no, I'm not saying that you bore me. I'm just saying I don't want to bore them sending them a lot of information. See, I want to make sure that when I send them something, they figure out it's important and they address it. So back to you, Jenny.
I I think those are great points and great stories that you brought up. I think overall the what we're trying to accomplish with Neighborhood Watch is just getting the community and the neighbors to talk to each other, right? Like it's easy to just go to work and go home and kind of put your blinders on. But the more you know your neighbors and the more you guys are talking and the more you guys are bringing up problems amongst each other, then you figure out like, oh, hey, my mail was stolen also. Oh, my mail was stolen also. And then you start talking with all your neighbors and you're like, okay, we might have an issue here.
Yes.
Where if you're not talking to anyone, then you're not gonna realize that there's an issue that's going on. So that story is just perfect of hey, we're all working together to make our neighborhood as safe as possible for our families and our children and for ourselves and for our neighbors. So to just talk to each other and work together and figure out an issue and then know who to call and when to call to get the issue resolved is fantastic. And then just looking out for each other also, right? Like sometimes I get home and I forget to lock my car, and my neighbor is looking out for me, and I'm looking out for my neighbor. Um, so like that story was perfect, and I think that's the essence of what a neighborhood watch is a neighbor watching out for each other and make sure that everyone's safe and everyone no one's a victim of a crime and everyone's taken care of. So that was a fantastic story. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
And then Janine, so we set you up. We know what Neighborhood Watch is. We kind of know the basics of how it's ran and everything like that. You wanna let us know how if someone's interested, how they can uh become a part of Neighborhood Watch.
Yeah, just really quick, I do want to touch on just a couple things really fast. Victor, yes, that's a perfect example. And a lot of times, people can do this really easily. Maybe you have a dog and you're out walking your dog and you just happen to see that somebody left their garage door open, right? Or all their lights are off, or their mail or newspaper stacking up. Little things that seem out of place are really good triggers so that we know whether or not we have to conduct a welfare check on your neighbors, as a police department. So we can do a lot of different things. Tying into what Victor was talking about, we do have these two cards. So there's a who to call card, and there's also a what is suspicious card. Now we do hand out this what is suspicious card to our block captains to disperse, and we do give out a lot of them. We're not looking for block captains or even residents for that matter to stereotype people out there. There's a lot of suspicious behavior, but some of it's just just different, right? It's different than what you might do. That doesn't necessarily make it suspicious. So this what's suspicious card is helpful in kind of determining that. You know, just because you see somebody wearing a hoodie, you know, on a hot day, could it be suspicious? Sure. But I know a lot of teenage boys that just live that way all day, every day, you know? So it really, when you're calling the police department to report a suspicious person, our dispatchers are really going to want to know in an articulable way, what is it that this person is doing that's suspicious? Is somebody walking down your street checking all the door handles of every single car? Now that's suspicious. So, you know, be able to interject. Just because, you know, you see somebody pulled over on the side of the road on their phone, in some neighborhoods, you might think that's suspicious, but also you're not supposed to drive when you're on the phone. So could it be that somebody just pulled over to use their phone so they don't get a ticket? So we kind of have to think about it a little bit. And then the other card that Victor mentioned was the who to call card. That call card really does have phone numbers for different departments within the city. So maybe if, you know, a stop sign fell over, you know, that might need to go to Public Works, or a street light is out, that might need to go to Public Works. And some of the stuff you'll learn through Neighborhood Watch really is the police department is responsible what I call the three E's: education, engagement, and enforcement. But what we don't cover necessarily is the engineering, right? Why can't I get a speed bump? Why can't I get a stop sign? I have traffic issues on my block. A lot of that, while the police department does enforcement and takes enforcement actions, the actual engineering, the planning, the installation of those kind of things is done at a city level through Public Works. You know, maybe a tree fell down, here's the number to call. Maybe my sewer's backed up, here's the number to call. So those cards are really helpful as well. And I think that's kind of what Victor was alluding to, is if I give you the education now, I've put the phone numbers and the who to reach in your hands, it alleviates a block captain. It also prevents calls or unnecessary calls to the police department, freeing up our phone lines to deal with emergencies. So thank you, Victor, for bringing up those two cards. Getting back to kind of Jeremy's point, I'm going to share my screen one more time here. Talking about, sorry, this is a little slow here. Let me get to where I need to be. How do you get more information on Neighborhood Watch? Obviously, you can call me directly. My number is on there, but also we have a web page, and on our website, I should say, we have lots of different information there for you. So we have a page dedicated to Neighborhood Watch. You can go on that page, find specific information. In addition, we also have a transparency page, traffic safety maps, answers to accountability for the police department and things like that. So you guys, when you have time, I always encourage people to go to the website. Sometimes I say when you're bored, because there's a lot of information. You want to kind of dedicate some time, but poke around. There's tons of different things that you can learn and do on our website. You can actually report some crimes online. So if there's no suspect, you can report fraud, you can report vandalism. So you don't necessarily need a police officer to respond. You can file it online. So these things are very, very helpful to know where to go, in addition to who to contact for the police department, our traffic unit, our records department, all kinds of different things. So very, very helpful to have and know. One of the big points that we're trying to get across is that Neighborhood Watch does work. It really does work. On average, basically, and this is a stat from years ago now, but from the Department of Justice, they put out a stat that says that Neighborhood Watch blocks are 84% safer than non-Neighborhood Watch blocks. Why is that? Because they're lived in. Going back to an earlier statement I made, when people are out smiling, waving, walking their dogs, when an area looks lived in at all different times of the day, a crook is not likely to go there for the chance that they're going to be seen. Now, areas that are very quiet, shut down, sleepy, you know, calm, where nobody's paying attention, those are the target-rich environments that a criminal is going to go look for, because they're more apt to be able to go ahead and perform their crime and get out unseen. So again, we want you guys to pay attention, know what feels off. Is the hair on the back of your neck going off? Why is it going off? And then contact us and let us be the judge of what's actually happening there. So our favorite mantra is, if you see something, say something. And that's exactly what we want you to do as members of Neighborhood Watch. Segueing outside of Neighborhood Watch, we did just start Business Watch, which is essentially neighborhood watch for businesses. And so we're looking to not only have you guys have neighborhood watch for your residences, but we also are now putting something in play for your businesses because they are target rich environments too. There's a lot of organized retail theft happening. A lot of times, after hours, somebody might break into your shop and to steal your cash register. There's a lot of different reasons why neighborhood watch and the philosophies and mission of neighborhood watch carry over to businesses. And so we just rolled that out this year. It's brand new. And we're looking to really do the same thing so that we can build the same sort of networks that we do with the block captains, but on a business level. So that's just been rolled out and is pretty exciting. But with both of those programs, both Neighborhood Watch and Business Watch, what we're looking for is for you guys to invest in security cameras. Security cameras these days are solving so many crimes. Having the actual footage serves multiple purposes. Obviously, one, we're able to see what's happened, right? We can get a description of a car. We can get a description of a criminal. So that helps us determine what direction do we come in from your street? Who am I looking for? So that's all super valuable information, but it also becomes a piece of evidence, which at the time of prosecution is very, very helpful to show a jury and make sure that the criminal gets some jail time, right? So for a multitude of reasons, security cameras are the way to go. They're super cheap these days. You can go get a really cheap set at Costco. We're not a proponent for any one brand. Minimally, what we say is that if you're determining how many cameras you should have, we always say, at least cover your entrances and exits of your home. So a back door, a side door, a front door. And then also we love to have one street facing so that we can see the traffic coming and going. And so that's super, super important. And then we have this San Mateo Nest, which is our neighborhood eye security team, which is a registry. If you go on our website, you can register the fact that you have cameras. Now, we're not Big Brother yet. We're not asking for your passwords or getting into those cameras yet. But ultimately, what it does is if we're investigating a crime and we know a crime happened at 123 Main Street and we know that 124 Main Street has cameras, we're able to pull up some information on our end and go straight there and get that camera footage. It doesn't prevent any of our officers from canvassing a neighborhood at all. We're still going to do that, but at least it's a little quicker and it will tell us what kind of camera do you have? How long do you hold the footage for? And so we can at least try and get that footage quicker than anything. And now we're kind of moving into for the businesses with the Business Watch in the future. We just are rolling out a real-time information center. So at some point we are looking to get live business camera footage or any camera footage in the end that will help us in the moment when crime is happening, tap into this crime. So it'll help us with our response times. How many officers do we need to send? Where is the person going? So we are encouraging everybody to get cameras at this point. And then we also have license plate readers, and on our webpage, you can learn about our license plate readers. So all of this combined is helping us really solve crime. And so you're a part of that by having this type of system at your home. So definitely, if you have video cameras and you haven't yet, please go visit this URL and register your cameras for us. And then one of the last programs I'm going to talk about, and this works not just for residents, but for business as well, crime prevention through environmental design. I am a practitioner, but I do this on a really informal level right now. So, I'm willing to come to your home and say, hey, trim this bush, make sure your front porch light is working. Maybe we want to be able to see in and out of this window. Maybe this really tall, bush that's lining your driveway is allowing for somebody to hide behind. And so when you come home and it's dark at night, nobody's going to be able to see bad guy hiding behind the hedge. So we can go ahead and come out, take a look at your home, and going back to a phrase I used earlier, teach you how to harden your targets. And I can do this on a business level as well. I've done some informal surveys for businesses. We really do look at how can we help get more eyes in and out of the property. You being able to see what's happening outside, and not that I'm trying to say I want nosy people staring inside, but if the police are driving by, we want to be able to see in your business. We want to be able to see eyes on an area, again, that lived in type of feel. When everybody's wearing blinders, that's when crime happens. But lived in areas are less likely to become victims of crime. So, you know, this is something we offer up, and then I can come out and do that for you. I think that's it for my presentation. I don't know, Jeremy, if you want to take over this page, I'll let you talk because I've talked a lot.
I don't know if I talk, hopefully it stays on the thing. But everything that we do here at the police department is just trying to make the community safer and make sure that everyone is safe. And if a crime is committed, that the people that committed the crime are held accountable. We message and we share as much information with our community as possible. And that's something that we are a big component in, and we will continue to do that. So Neighborhood Watch is a good foundation for neighborhoods to stay safe and work together. And then everything that we do here at the police department is on social media. So if you look at the screen, you'll see our Twitter, which is now X. We got Facebook, we got Instagram, and then as I mentioned earlier, all of these videos and everything, and are uploaded to our YouTube channel. We also do a monthly crime watch video of crimes that are occurring or that we see an uptick in. We will do a short little video on that and post that information. So we're just trying to get out as much information to our community members as we can so that you can be as safe as possible. Our alert platform, so if something is happening right now and we want to let you guys know about it immediately, the first thing we're going to do is send out a nixle. So if you're not signed into our nixle, I would highly suggest that you do that. So we send out road closures, or if there's a critical incident, the first thing we're going to do is send out a nixle. And the easiest way to sign up for it, if you're not already, is just you can see on your screen, text your zip code to 888-777, and that will start the process for you to sign up for Nixle. So that's all you need, just some basic information. We don't monitor it, but as soon as we send out a Nixle or an alert, you guys will get that. And then Nextdoor is our next one that we're going to use. So when it comes to real-time information that we send out, it's going to be Nexel, and then right after that, it's going to be Nextdoor. And if you're not already signed up for Nextdoor, please do it. It also greatly benefits the Neighborhood Watch program because you sign up for Nextdoor and you put in your address, and it's everyone that's in your neighborhood that you can see, you guys can talk to. So we don't see all of those comments on Nextdoor, so it's not like we are monitoring everything. If you send us a message on Nextdoor, then we will see it. Or if you respond to something that the police department put out, we'll see that. But if you're having conversations just amongst your neighbors on Nextdoor, we don't see that. So going back to when you should call 911 and when you should call the emergency line. So if you see something, say something and talk to each other so that everyone is safe. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, is just make sure the community is safe and criminals are held accountable. So once again, all of our social medias, if you're interested in Neighborhood Watch, what I hope you are, if you're not already involved in it, please email neighborhoodwatch@cityofsanmateo.org or call that number that's up on the screen right now, 522-7791. And if you already have a Neighborhood Watch and you know your block captain or someone that's involved in it, go talk to them. And hopefully, if you don't have a Neighborhood Watch on your block or in your area, maybe start talking to your neighbors and give Janine a call, because she'll help you get started with that if that's something that you want to do. Biggest thing, if you see something, say something, and then just look out for each other and take care of each other, because it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that we're safe and that we're all living in the community that we want to live in. And I think that's all I got. So
Love to hear if anybody has any questions in the audience that I can answer for them really quickly as a group. Otherwise, I would encourage you all to email me directly at Neighborhood Watch, and we can talk offline, but I'm just wondering before we end tonight if there are any questions.
I've been monitoring and I haven't seen anything yet. Um, so I haven't seen any questions. So if you do have any questions, please email us and we will respond back to you. Once again, that's pdpio@cityofsanmateo.org, or call us directly and we'll answer any questions that you guys have. So Chief, always thank you for kicking us off, and Janine and Victor, thank you very much for participating in tonight's Real Talk San Mateo, and we'll see you guys in a couple months. Have a good night.
Take care. Good night.